Hello crafty friends, I'm Lynn from Studio Kato and I'm so glad you're joining me again today. Today I have a super quick card for you, but I'm sharing some fun techniques to spice up your card making and stretch your supplies. And the first technique is die cut a stencil. And it's super simple, obviously. I just use some glossy cardstock. This is pattern paper, so I'm using the back of it. If you can see a pattern through it, that explains that. And I'm just taping that stencil in place on top of my Canson Montval 300 GSM A2 sized panel. I really like using this cardstock because it die cuts easily, but you can also use acetate. It's a little less easy to cut, but it will have a longer lifespan. You can use it over and over, and it's great to use with glitter paste and things like that as well. Whenever I make a stencil like this, I like to cut the paper or the acetate to the right card size first and then line up my die and run it through my die cutting machine. This makes it really easy to line it up with my card panel and make sure everything is nice and centered. Now I wanted this to be a fall card, so I'm just using some fall colors from Pinkfresh Studio inks and blending those on with my blending brushes. I will list all the supplies, including all the ink colors I used, in the description below. Once the blending is done, I can move on to stamping, and I'm using a stamp set called Sunflowers by Jane's Doodles, and it's a really fun company. I hope you check it out. It's a European company, but they do ship worldwide. I am using one of the images to stamp 3 times onto my card panel, and I'm just using some brown ink to do that, and that's just to spice up my panel, and I will stamp my focal image in Versafine Onyx black ink onto a separate piece of Canson Montval 300 GSM watercolor cardstock. And I am embossing that as well with Wow Clear Gloss Super Fine Embossing Powder. Now to color this in, I am using my Caron markers, and this goes really quickly, not as quickly as shown in the video, of course. I think I sped it up 6 times, so that's quite a lot, but I'm not doing anything fancy, so there's not much interesting to see here. I just put my color down with the markers directly onto the paper in the areas I want darkest. Then I take a fine paintbrush. I will also list that in the description below because it's a really good brush. And I just fill it up with a little bit of water, dab any excess water off, and then I can blend the color out. And once the yellow layer is dry on the petals, I am adding a touch of orange to warm up that yellow a little bit. Now I'm just setting that image aside to dry so I can fussy cut it out later. To finish up my card panel, I am just going to stamp and emboss a sentiment on there. I'm keeping this card fairly simple, and I wanted the only dimension to be on my focal image. So I am stamping my sentiment directly onto my panel, just underneath that little square that I ink blended. And I'm stamping that in Versamark ink a couple of times because this is textured cardstock. And then I heat emboss that with Wow Gold Rich Pale Embossing Powder. This is a lovely warm gold embossing powder, and I love it for fall. I mean, I love it for everything. It's my favorite gold embossing powder. I just propped the image up onto some foam tape, and then I'm adding some embellishments. These are the metallic gold pearls by Pinkfresh Studio, and they're great embellishments as well. And I'm just adding them with Barely Art Precision Craft Glue. That already finishes up my card, but I'm moving on to a matching envelope. And I'm folding an A2 sized envelope with my We Are Memory Keepers 123 punch board out of craft cardstock. Craft just screams fall and Christmas, I think. So I use it a lot in my fall and Christmas cards. And I'm just gluing that together with the Barely Art Precision Craft Glue, and then I can add a simple design on the front and the back this time. I'm using that same stamp as I used on my card, and I'm stamping that in a darker brown ink onto my craft cardstock. I'm not masking anything off, I am letting the line art overlap, and that gives a really nice effect as well. And I'm doing the same thing on the flap of the envelope. I'm kind of figuring out where to place that second flower, if I wanted to overhang on the top or maybe not. So I'm just being a little bit careful about where I stamp that so it doesn't cross over the score line on the back. And that finishes up the project for today. I really like how this turned out. I love the warm colors and I hope you like it too. Do you like making fall cards? I definitely do. I make a lot of them. Fall is my favorite season and the color scheme is just really my thing. I really hope you liked this card and video. If you did, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video and leave your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to read them. Of course, you can also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more of my videos. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.